Well, welcome to Healthy and Active in the Couve. I am personal trainer Nick Medlock, also a certified nutrition coach. And with me, as always, is Dr. Trent Corey, Doctor of Physical Therapy. And
Nick.
today, we would love to talk about back pain and some of the things I'd like to maybe touch on. And I know he has some things in particular that he's going to touch on. But where does back pain come from? Is it the dysfunction of our discs, like with spondylolisthesis or disc bulging, or things like that? Or is it some kind of dysfunction above the low back or wherever the back pain is, or above or below to the sides, like in the quadratus lumborum muscles, those muscles on the side? And can, if we have disc issues, balance out our musculature so that the tension doesn't create more pain and actually can reduce pain in the long run for us. So there's a whole bunch of questions for you there. So let's talk about what you really wanted to talk about, and maybe touch on some of those other ones.
Yeah, it sounds great, Nick. Yeah, it's a complex thing oftentimes, but a lot of times we just have to break it down to what's actually happening. And like you said, it has to do with a balance around all the muscles and all the joints. And so multiple joints, multiple body parts, a lot of nerves, a lot of connective tissue. So looking at everything that connects to that, what's causing things to pull in one direction or the other can cause segments of the spine to be pinched on or compressed in some way. And, that can cause a lot of pain. And so, and imaging oftentimes may not even detect it. So sometimes, because all an MRI is, it will kind of detect what kind of tissue is at a certain point, but it's with you completely still inside of a tube. You're not moving. And so a lot of times it has to do with getting your body, looking at what you're doing with movement and seeing where things are, shunted off or not moving properly, and getting all those spots to move a little bit better so you can feel better. So yeah, it's a lot of things to work on, but it's a fun challenge. There's also another unique thing I'll talk about in a little bit about what happens when people have, quote, seen everybody and have kind of failed every other therapy. Usually it's related to some sort of SI joint dysfunction and sacral shear, sacral rotation of some sort. So we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. Well, what about sacralization also? Can that cause back pain? I mean, speaking of the sacrum and sacral shear, when the vertebrates at the lower lumbar wants to become part of the sacrum or the other way around, can that cause back pain also?
Yeah, well, a lot of times those things can be incidental findings, so that people didn't have back pain forever, and then all of a sudden, oh wow, I saw that you had an extra lumbar, or yeah, you have a fusion of certain areas. Obviously, those things can affect things, there's no doubt about that. But and sometimes those things are quite hereditary, and you can't change much about it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I've been finding, and I think that's more encouraging than ever for me. It's like, just because something's shown on an image, a lot of times you only get the image when you have the back pain. And
Hmm.
so the you probably had that all along, or you could have had that all along in some way. But now since you have pain and it's at that spot, you go, oh, that's the reason. And there was a big study about that a while back, probably back in the 90s, where they did MRIs of asymptomatic people, and a very large percentage. I wish I had the article in front of me, but it was amazing how frequent, like, a disc bulge was present in somebody who had no pain at all.
Yeah.
I find it encouraging. That should be like, oh, just because I have so we can see these as like normal incidences in the spine that may not be necessarily the reason why you're having pain. It's more related to how you're moving and how that's impacting it. So I find that that's kind of, it'll set people at ease with that when they know this information,
Yeah.
so that they're not like, oh my gosh, I have this bulge, and if I bend forward, I'm gonna blow my disc out and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. It's kind of just complete nonsense, and
Yeah.
it gets people more scared than everything. And then if you have pain, if you have fear of movement, then you usually don't move much, and then you have
Yeah.
more pain. And so it kind of creates this cycle of just fear-based things. And, a lot of us in this, I know in the medical system, a lot of times, they want to make sure that you, are a little bit more fearful because you're told that something's degenerating and, oh my gosh, doctors tell people all sorts of things. You have a spine of an 80-year-old and someone's in their 40s, like,
Yeah.
and you're trying to just scare the heck out of people. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
try to give people some empowering messages of how they can get better. And there's
Yeah.
so many cases of people that I've seen get better. And so there's no reason why we can't improve with what we got, And so it is such a it is a very common thing that people get. There's about 80% of people in their life will get back pain and
Yeah.
have some sort of thing. And, it's probably some byproduct of us being bipedal and,
Yeah. Yeah.
how we move and how unique the challenges are of that, and also the daily life that we have of sitting and
Yeah.
creating tightness in our hip flexors and rounding up our upper backs and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors to it, but like I try to just create people to feel like, yeah, we can take care of this and feel a lot better with the things we have at our disposal now. You
Yeah.
just have to take an informed approach, and you have to be willing to do some things to balance out those muscles. Because if we're talking hip muscles and joints and everything around that area, they're big bones, they're big joints, they take a lot of leverage to do. So you have to be disciplined on certain things that help it balance. So
Yeah. Well, I
definitely.
can't tell you how many clients that I've seen that have been told that they've got degeneration in an 80-year-old spine, and they've stopped moving, and they have more pain because of that. And then when I talk with them, and sometimes it's a well-meaning nurse that goes, "The doctor wouldn't tell you this," but kind of whispers that in their ear, and I'm like, I know that she was trying to say something encouraging, but it comes off as very fear-based. And so my big beef with that is, when you're in fear-based kind of mentality, the hormone structure in your body is going to become inflammatory just because of the hormones involved. And we've talked about that before. The flip side of that is with all the clients that I've seen that have arthritis, spondylolisthesis, and things like that, the more we move in a stabilizing way and appropriate for their body, even some neuropathy that comes from like spondylolisthesis and things, a lot of that starts to subside because of the stability and because we're moving and we're not being afraid of our body. And then maybe in some cases 6 months to a year, they feel like they don't have an 80-year-old spine anymore. It's kind of like I haven't been aware of my pain and I don't remember when the last time, because I stopped forgetting, I started forgetting about it because it's not constantly present. So I love that you do that with your work, and I see that in my own, not that I'm a therapist, but that we help people learn to not fear their body through movement. And I think I've seen a lot of progress in all of those regions just from being appropriately moving and stabilizing the joints.
Right, exactly. So it's about moving intelligently, right? We're
Yeah.
not saying, hey, go do power squats or something. Hey, if it
Right.
hurts too bad, let's go,
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
So it is finding where that sweet spot is where you can do a lot of good work and get those tummy muscles working really strong. Most folks are gonna probably need some degree of core stability.
Yeah.
Whole core, and the core isn't just your six pack, it's that whole wrap around, right? The transversus
Right.
and all the other multifidi in the back, and all those muscles kind of hold those areas in place with movement to stabilize as you're walking and moving, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's important for us. And a lot of times with an image, we're trying to gain a validation, right? We want some sort of thing to say, that's the reason why I have pain. I have this thing. It's kind of a little bit like of an excuse, right? It gives you say, well, I have this, therefore I just hurt, and then like I just
Right.
get to be this way. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Do you not want to be this way? You can actually do something about it. But if you have something where it just tells you like, well, based on this is what I have, and I just have to live with this. We find a lot of people with arthritis, they might still have arthritis on imaging, and they move great. And that,
Yeah.
part of it is, pain might be something that happens, and that's something as we get older, we feel stiff, and those kind of things tend to be more prevalent. But anybody who's like been in fitness for a while, and like I've been kind of catching on like a lot of folks in their 70s, and they're doing like
Yeah.
American Ninja Warrior or whatever, like
Oh yeah, I love
like
it.
amazing dynamic people. And I
Yeah.
think for sure, and maybe we've talked about this before, Nick, is like we're going to have so many more people in the coming years, like in the
Mhm.
2030s, 2040s. We're going to have so many awesome people in their 80s and
Yeah.
90s doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these folks, like we're pretty sedentary, even in their 40s and 50s. Or I saw this one 70-year-old woman who's like doing all this stuff. And she said she really didn't work out much until she was in her 40s or 50s. And now she's
Oh,
like she's ripped. I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty awesome. And so like just having a stronger vision of like that everything is this body we've been given is so dynamic, and we have so much of an ability to, and it's so energetic, and what you feed it, and like you said, in terms of your words and what can change. If you get an image and you're told something and it imprints something that you just believe beyond a doubt, and that's how it's going to be, guess what? It's going to be that way. No matter
Absolutely.
what. Like
Yeah.
if you don't believe anything's going to change, it won't.
Yeah.
But if you look and have more reference to people like, hey, and you don't have to be one of these dynamos, just it should inspire to think, you know what, I could be a lot better than I am. And I just have to work my way towards something. But I know that there are things that are possible if I just put my work into it and do this. And so,
Absolutely.
and then working with a trainer, working with a PT, finding the greatest and latest things that people have known, that we have the era of information. We have so many
Yeah.
things you've learned about how to help these things that's really not necessary to suffer anymore. You can have
Yeah.
some pain, but suffering's optional now. You don't have to do that. And so find the people who can help you and get that help, and take control of your health and your life, because a lot of folks, if they don't go down the path when things are hurting and they've been told certain things, they just, you can see people decade by decade. Maybe you have that familiar, you haven't seen somebody in 20 years and you're like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
person looks so old now,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's because they've lowered their level of movement, and they've gotten more, their range of availability to move around has gotten smaller and smaller,
Yeah.
and it becomes worse and worse. So that's a big part of it, is just that mindset, and seeking out and just having that mindset of possibility instead of just fear, and like acceptance of
Yeah.
something that you have. Not to see things worse than they are or better than they are, or just be all you know, um, bright, everything's all rosy and unicorns, but
Right.
it is
Yeah.
important for us to,
Yeah.
look at how it is right now, and then look at it better than it is, and what can you do about it? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just wrote an article on Substack about that kind of very thing. I called it spiritual bypass, where it's just all love and light, but you're not looking at the darkness. And so, like the reality is, you may have some of these things, but it's a teacher, not a death sentence. And that's kind of like dealing with the shadow part of your physicality. But if it's just love and light and you're ignoring all these things, then that could be crushing when you get a diagnosis of, hey, I've got this disc bulge or spondylolisthesis or a kidney, X, Y, or Z. Just it is a perspective thing, and I deal with a lot of senior citizens, and one of them is turning 90 this Saturday, and he, despite all of the surgeries he's had to have, he has to regress after surgeries, but he constantly is coming twice a week to me, and he goes to Pilates and yoga still, and he still can and lift a 100-pound kettlebell when we stack everything up properly and we warm him up properly. But that man doesn't quit, and his wife is the same way. She visits me also and does all the same things, and she may not be lifting a 100-pound kettlebell, but she's in here moving constantly. They're inspiring all the other people around here, because they're aging well and they're keeping themselves healthy. And at 90, he still has his driver's license and a quick wit, and faster than me sometimes on the iPhone. So it just goes to show that you take care of your body, it takes care of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, definitely takes, yeah, it's exactly right. It's so cool to have that ability, and yeah, you got to have that attitude towards it. And, that's something about it. It's like being able to, because it's, I heard it was a really cool statement about like the muscles are the organ of longevity, right?
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
more like the endocrine react, the things that happen when we're just pumping and moving those muscles, and just
Mhm.
even if it's just simple as walking or rucking, or whatever, doing some, just sit to stands from a chair, right? Like basic
Mhm.
things. But anything that you're doing that helps your body create this juice and like vitality. So that's been shown across the board. And it's really cool, seeing folks like that. It's
Yeah.
really is a cool inspiration. I think about the next few decades of my life. I want to, and I think all of us should, have that vision of what a future self, what kind, thinking about what you're gonna, because that's you,
Yeah. Yeah.
later on, how's that gonna be? Are you gonna set yourself up for that, really good, healthy life that you want to enjoy those years? Or do you want to be dealing with a lot like what you may see people who might be 20, 30 years older than you who are really struggling? If you've ever been to a nursing home or if you've ever seen people who are really struggling, which one would you like to set yourself? You never know how things may turn out, but like, how could you, if you have control of certain things over your health, what can you do to make sure that the first case is one that you have a better chance of being, So that's important. So yeah.
Well, I love that. And I think you mentioned something earlier that you had some new things about back pain or technologies. What would that be?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. So, what I found is like I'm learning from a therapist who's down in Florida, and he works. He would describe his clinic as a failed everything clinic, meaning if people come with back pain, and that people come from other states to go see him, and because he's kind of perfected a simple process to help people who've been through all sorts of pain and surgeries. And basically, these people have pain with extending and flexing and sitting on certain surfaces, rolling over in bed. These things are really debilitating. And many people have been through neuroablations, they've maybe had a surgery, they've had several injections. All sorts of things that they've gone through and just suffered, and maybe been to PT several times, chiropractic, all sorts of different, things to try to make it feel better, laser therapy, and maybe even some of the shockwave stuff. I mean, like anything, like they've been to the specialist, they've been to Mayo, they just can't figure it out. Well, he's had folks where he comes in and, he just listens to their story and kind of says, I think I know what's wrong with you. And within 30 seconds gets them out of pain. Like,
Wow.
because there's something going on with what's called the SI joint. So the SI joint is where your tailbone meets your hip bones, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
back in here, right?
Yeah.
You can see that, huh? Thanks. I get the moon, not the moon, the camera,
Yeah.
but hey,
Yeah.
I gotta show you. I need to get some bone diagrams to show you this, but basically, think about, oh, you have one. Oh, Nick.
I
Yeah.
might.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
might.
Okay.
I've got the pelvic girdle.
Oh, no, what I actually need to do is bone model, but the idea is
Okay.
like
Yeah.
what we do is look at how on the bony points in your back here,
Uh huh.
if you extend back, if
Yeah.
one of those, they should go when I have my thumbs on them, they should go equal. And if
Yeah.
they don't, if one stays up and one goes back, means that one of those pelvic bones is upslipped. And so what
Okay.
we do is just a simple, way to help move that into position. We just pull on the leg and make
Yeah.
sure you don't have a hip replacement. But like, we
Yeah.
pull it, get it level, and we retest it and see if that's changed in their symptoms. Sometimes it does, and that's great. And it might be just that upslip, but usually it's related to something else. So we got the upslip, and so usually that exists. But there's also something called an out flare. So out flare, so we got it flares in or out. So
Mhm.
if the thumbs are coming closer together, that's an out flare and this pinching. So it's pinching kind of at the tailbone. And those surfaces between the tailbone and the ilium are like Rubik's cube, and they're jagged kind of bones. And so what happens is it's literally a bone compression in there. So what we do is a simple technique to get that to gap open. We press on the front bones to gap
Mhm.
open in the back. And what
Nice.
we want to do is see if that shifts things. If it does, then great. Then we know there's something going on with that. And then with that, that's great. That confirms the diagnosis. That's the 30 seconds that Dr. Welton will do. And
Yeah.
then from there, what we want to do is then it's a protocol. It's very, very regimented. It takes some effort to do, but the correction isn't just, doing these manual adjustments. And there might be some other things going on with the tailbone. The tailbone is that triangle bone. It could be sheared one way or the other. And there's a
Yeah.
way to get that to be in the right position as well. And so we work on all these things to kind of balance it out. But the protocol is something where it can take months to get better. But
Uh-huh.
what's great is people that first visit, they feel better. And then
Oh,
all of
that's
a sudden
awesome.
they're kind of bought in. They're like, nobody has ever been able to show me that. And nobody, they looked at the MRI, they look at all this other stuff, and this doesn't show up on MRI. This doesn't show
Okay.
up on all these other tests and stuff. So, we're doing these techniques, and that's what I'm trying to do is, and what he's found is like he'll bring up like, a lot of people have considered having, doing suicide.
Yeah.
They're just in such a bad place. Like, these people lose their jobs, they can't do anything, they're on disability, they're just at their wits' end, and he's had people sob in their clinic because, within a very short period of time he knows exactly what's happening with it. And it just made me think of like how I need to help people who are in this same situation. I know there's a lot of people, because he's been doing this for years and years. He's like, you'd think I'd run out of seeing people, and like I just keep getting busier and busier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's many folks, and what I want to try to do is get as many people in there in the next few months to kind of see what's going on with this, show them what's going on, and then get them through a process that gets them the relief that they deserve.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm trying to gear people towards being more aware that this is a real thing, and that there is hope for these folks who've been everywhere. Naturally, they come in, they're very skeptical, like, yeah, right, you think whatever. I've been to this person, and like really reputable people, right? Like,
Yeah.
but they just haven't seen this. And so this thing has become something where it brings a lot of hope to folks. And then, but it does take a regimented process. We need to make sure we do the correct stretches. We actually tell people, you need to spend like an hour a day doing some of these exercises to balance out.
Yeah.
And but the ones who are motivated, they're going to do them. And
Yeah.
so that's what's
Pain's a good
cool about it.
motivator.
Yeah, it is, right. And like we talk about future self, or it's something that, why do you want to do this? You want to enjoy your family, you want to enjoy your grandkids, you want to go travel, you want
Yeah.
to get your job back, or just not hurt every day.
Yeah.
That's a big motivator. But like that's what's cool about the stuff that I've learned recently about this. And so I'm kind of expanding, my treatment approach to make sure those, and I do that most of the time for anybody. Usually any symptom that's from, bottom of your rib cage,
Mhm.
T1, or sorry, L1 to the foot. Basically anything referring, it could even look like sciatica pain. And
Yeah.
it's not sciatica. It could actually be related. The referral pattern from the SI joint could go down the leg too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had some success with it.
Awesome.
I'm learning. I want to get more folks in here who have that direct issue, and
Yeah.
get them on the protocol that they need to do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what it's all about, is making sure the people who are really suffering don't need to necessarily do that. And especially if you've been around the block and you've maybe kind of lost hope, I want to be that beacon of hope and at least try to see if this is the case with you. And a lot of times I can examine it real quick and go, yep, this is what I'm seeing. We need to do this. And it's a simple protocol, but it's definitely effective. So he
Yeah.
has 90s. His success rate is in the 90s. He says he's 99%. It's like, wow, really? That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I can just say firsthand, all the clients that I've sent to you think that you are amazing also. So,
Oh, thank you.
and
I appreciate all the
so
referrals there,
yeah,
Nick. Yeah,
absolutely.
appreciate
And
it.
then now I can promote with this new technique and talk about it more.
Cool.
And then just help people get out of pain, which is what you and I both love doing and kind of live for, is to just help people kind of return back to normalcy and not being afraid of their body.
Oh,
So,
no doubt at all. We want people to feel good and active in their life. And, my goal is to get people feeling better and they don't need me again, and
yeah,
then go work out with you,
yeah, awesome.
or
Yeah,
whoever, make sure that you're out in the community enjoying things, that we get outside and go enjoy fun things. And that's what,
yeah,
that's what a big part of enjoying life is being healthy in your
yeah,
body. So
exactly.
yeah,
Enjoy in your body.
absolutely. Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Awesome.
So awesome. Well, we'll have all the links down. But Trent, your website, your email is Find Yourself Running, or how did I get that wrong?
Yeah, you got it. Trent at
Okay.
findyourselfrunning.com. And then my website is www.extramilept.com. So XTRA mile PT. .com. And that, most people will go to the site and you can look more about softwave therapy or anything else I do for all sorts of different pain conditions, but then book a call, 15-minute call, just to kind of talk about what's going on. And that way we can kind of see if that's we have something we can help you with, or I point you in the direction of who can help you. So
Yeah.
I just want to help whoever comes across we talk to about it. So yeah.
Well, I am Nick Medlock, and you can find me at nickim@nwpersonaltraining.com is my email. And of course, you can always call Northwest Personal Training and schedule a free hour initial consult. We're here all the time to help you out. And just to get some promotions, we're having a discussion that's a free discussion this Thursday, if you happen to catch this episode in time, called Motion is Lotion. It's by a physical therapist, and she's going to talk about how movement helps along with arthritis. So a little bit of kind of like what we were talking about today, movement and arthritis, and how to do not therapy, but just general motion to get rid of your pain, even if you have arthritis. So that's what I know about her talk, and I will have that recorded on Facebook Live on our website. So, but yeah, so we'll have some of those posted up in the links. Trent, thank you again for another amazing talk.
Yeah, Nick, it's always good talking to you. Anytime we can do this, I'm looking forward to more guests and we get more conversations going. I think more people learn about health, and that's what we want to bring across. And so thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, this is Healthy and Active in the Couve.